Button hover.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. Ooh, look how shiny it is. And
so
welcome
much.
welcome to another episode of Tumbleweeds and Tombstones, the game where each week my players accuse me of trying to kill them, and I have to remind them that they're already dead.
You almost succeeded with Walter last week.
Murder base. You know, I mean,
Jesus.
did I succeed or did you? I didn't tell you to use the murder vase. I just gave it to you.
Yeah, that's all. Don't use the things I give you.
Tempt. Anyway,
I need
everybody.
all. I need
the things
all
that-
archaeological finds to have instructions from now on.
The things that he handed you that you, of course, rooted through several different belongings and stole.
Yes. You know, the warnings really should come before the spells.
You don't want instructions. They're going to end up like IKEA instructions. You're going to flip it around 16 times before you find English.
I thought I had a decent Allen wrench. Turns out it was a Philip wrench.
Oh,
Never heard of it
please.
before.
It's too early for puns.
Never. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into tonight's recap. I can mouth words pretty. We're off to a good start. So when last we gathered, the Obsidian Spurs had been camping out in an outcrop of rocks before they reached the first mile marker on their way to the Lupine village, the shoulders of the grandfather, a large plateau that they are going to have to get across in order to continue through. As they were camping, they were set upon just before dawn by a group of human bounty hunters who thought it was suspicious that a group of traveling individuals were camping out in the middle of winter without any kind of fire or heat source, and only assumed that it was because y'all were trying to avoid detection, which meant that something fishy was going on. One of the individuals recognized you all and tried to flee, but was stopped by the mental prowess of Liam, realizing that it was one of the two surviving members of the faux Spurs who you guys had fought sometime before. A very brief conflict then ensued when Liam ignored the order to stay where he was. And you guys got to enjoy vampires fighting humans, which is not much of a challenge when they are not trained against fighting the supernatural. You guys were able to quickly subdue your foes, feeding off of pretty much all of them, one to death, distinguishing the person and completely draining them of blood. The faux spur, you hypnotized and commanded to wait by the carriage. The other, Liam convinced if he simply inspected this wonderful bit of pottery that you guys were carrying around, he would let him go. Liam, trying to then figure out how it works, opened the vase with whispering happening just on the edge of hearing the ghostly voices and conversation and wails happening. He focused his willpower on this vase and also dropped some vitae into it, unlocking one of several abilities that this vase apparently has, in which that a horrible wailing scream of the souls in this vase began to attack the psyche of everyone close in, causing ears to bleed. He also then noticed that the soul of the dead person that they had just killed was sucked into the vase, and botching a check, the vampiric soul, or at least what's left of it, of Walter seemed to be slowly being pulled from this thing. Liam realized that it was a struggle to actually close the vase, but actually managed to do so, falling back, laughing maniacally at this turn of events. And I believe that's where we left off.
We've got a bunch of unconscious bodies in a pile.
You have a bunch of unconscious bodies in a pile. And Weya had a interesting interaction with Henry.
Oh, right. I forgot about
As
that.
those that were inside the carriage, Henry and not Bartleby as he was passed out for the evening, but Peter, the lupine guide that you guys have, came out and had a rather chilling experience, as it seems the carnage and the call of the dead and blood shook something loose in Henry. And when Weir tried to confront him about this, was confronted with nightmarish visions, being able to consciously relive the murder of his own mother when he frenzied, and visions of a hellish landscape and the bodies of his fallen people. And that's pretty much what happened last time. So we come back in to tonight's episode of Tumbleweeds and Tombstones. You all are gathered round as Liam is laughing maniacally, fallen back in the snow, clutching on to the vase, now sealed. Walter, you're staggering to kind of right yourself as consciousness seemed to have left you for a moment. And the guy on the ground, the human that you had look into this thing, is passed out. Like after the wailing happened, he clutched his ears. The blood started coming from his. You get the idea that maybe as a mortal, this affected him a little bit more than the supernatural, and he is passed out, slumped against the rock outcrop that you guys had him sit down near.
Oof. Well, now that was mighty entertaining.
Since Atris was pretty close, she's going to drop down to Liam, and she's going to be like, "Oh, what the fuck happened?"
The hell was that?
Oh, well, that was science, my friend.
I don't think that's quite science.
Now, real quick, from because Atris was just outside of what was going on, but since she was up and above, but how much of what was going on could she perceive? Like, could she see the spirits and all that shit?
There was no visual on the only person that saw like even the souls being moved was Liam, who was holding the vase. I would say Atris heard the whispered conversation and muttering, but the worst effects you did not hear. You didn't hear the wailing, you didn't hear the screaming. You just saw, I would say, retroactively, because you didn't roll it in the moment, go ahead and give me a perception alertness or awareness, either one, whichever one you want to roll. Just tell me which one you choose.
Alertness. I have a higher roll on that one.
Okay.
But Liam, next time, let's not be near it when you open that thing, as I like wipe blood from my face.
5 successes. Atris, you definitely saw you saw that which was there to see. You saw them obviously all react within the circle of Liam, Wan, and Walter all clutching their ears as Vitae kind of started trickling from them. You also saw the human clutch his ears and eyes roll back in his head and pass out. And then you saw Walter kind of like frozen, eyes rolled back in his head and conversing, just kind of like sitting there. And then suddenly, coming back into himself.
So aside from where Liam and Walter are acting incredibly strange, we'll just call it that.
I mean, you heard the whispering and it was weird and creepy, but like nothing that would trigger you going, why are they all clutching? Why are their ears all of a sudden? Liam, I need you real quick to give me a perception alertness roll, please. Difficulty is 7. You look down at the vase, and as before, the more you look at it, the more that what seems just like a scenic picture of cranes taking off from a group of overcropping trees. When you look down below where you kind of had seen the bodies before, and then below that, the tortured faces, what seems like a speck of white, because it's a mean vase, so it's mostly white porcelain with blue lacquer on it to do the details. A speck of white starts to spin out, and a new face, tormented, and I'll say 2 successes, that's decent enough. It's somewhat amorphous, not a whole lot of detail, but it looks somewhat similar to the bounty hunter who you guys had killed from drinking. And you suddenly see a new face kind of appear, and then as quickly as you notice it, it shifts and the vase just looks like a vase again.
No, perhaps I shouldn't tap the glass too much.
What happened?
Well, I don't know if you were able to see it, my dear, but the young man who is expired on the floor, a rather large ball of white light escaped his body,
Yes.
and now resides in this here vase.
Oh, I saw no lights. I more or less just saw your reaction, your laughing, and Walter just freezing and freezing, and it just you both just reacted. I didn't, and the bleeding of the ears, that I didn't really get to see that much past that.
No, it did attempt to suck something out of me as well. I was able to resist, but it appears that our friend down there, his soul was left intact, minus the pain it caused him during its initial process.
Oh,
But I do think I was able to get exactly what I wanted out of this. But yes, Waya, I do agree with you. We should not be too near next time I decide to play with this toy.
No, we should not be. Are you okay, Walter?
I was trying to watch over you, but yeah, you can watch over yourself next time you open that thing.
I agree.
I don't know where I was for a second. I'm like rubbing my cheeks to get the wet stuff off. Cursing.
I almost wish I was.
Go ahead.
I almost wish I was still stalking y'all with the trail of destruction you leave. This is way too close for my comfort.
Oh, now that reminds me. We have a little unfinished business. And I start making my way to the other side of the carriage.
Mark. The rest of you follow him.
Aegis is punished for a moment. I'm like, oh, what the fuck did I sign up for?
Not the first or the last time she thinks that. Okay, so you guys are just leaving the one guy that's kind of slumped and passed out against the rocks.
If no one else is gonna bind him, she'll just take him and add him with the rest of the bind.
Adris, I did promise that one he could go as long as he participated in this experiment.
Well, in that case, do you just want to leave him here, or what would you like to do with him?
I mean, I'm not going to carry him. If he wants to run away, he got to do that at his own accord.
Very well. She'll leave him.
Okay. Waya, Walter, do you follow along the other side of the carriage as well?
Can I check to make sure the dude's alive?
Yeah, go ahead and give me a perception plus medicine
Oh
check.
fuck, I don't even have my dice out. One moment. It's all right. It's within an arm's reach. It's fine. It's right here. You said
and now they're
perception
out.
what?
Perception plus medicine, please.
Ooh, medicine. Oh, wait,
I'll make my way slowly. I'll catch up.
2 successes.
Okay. You watch him for a bit, and very slowly you see the chest rising and falling. He seems okay. It doesn't seem like, at least physically, you don't see anything that would make you think that he's in distress of like danger of dying or anything like that.
Yeah, does he have like wounds on him? Like anything noticeable other than
I
what
mean,
he
you notice
probably did
you
to
notice a
him?
bit of blood coming out of his ears, a bit more than you guys. But not to the point where you think he's like hemorrhaging or anything like that. He just seems unconscious.
All right, well, I'll just guess I'll just kind of like leave him there.
Okay. You guys all make your way around the carriage, and you notice that Henry and PETA are both watching Mr. God, what was his name?
Tucker.
Galileo.
Yes. What was it?
Tucker.
Tucker.
John Tucker.
And you see that Henry has his at least one pistol trained on him, and PETA has his hand on a knife, that a Bowie knife that's on his side. And they're just kind of watching him. And Liam, you know this well enough from your extensive use of dominate and presence and things like that. Once the command is followed on a successful use of the discipline, the person's able to kind of think for themselves. You told him to go wait by the carriage. He waited by the carriage.
I was very specific and said, wait by the carriage until I say otherwise. And I have not said otherwise.
That is true. Well, I stand by what I said of, it kind of just seems like Henry and PETA are keeping an eye on him because...
I mean, logic would dictate that anyway.
Yeah. Given the circumstances, they don't trust him. So
They know what I said, so...
So you guys come around, and there he is, and he's not looking happy. I mean, he is just, even in this cold, there is a cold sweat just drenching his face, and he very much feels like he's about to meet his maker. I'm not even gonna make you guys roll for empathy. You can all read it. It's pretty much on his sleeves.
Now, my friends, that is mighty thoughtful of you, but it is currently unnecessary. Wea, now I only gave a bit of leniency to that one young man in the back there. I gave none such to Mr. Tucker here. And since those of us that met our other halves got to dispatch them accordingly, I'll leave his fate in your hands, minus a bit of questioning.
I think questions, it's a good thing to start with. I mean, doesn't really have any other reason not to answer, right? And I'll look at him.
He's not even making eye contact. He's looking at the ground and silently saying a prayer to himself.
Well, how about this? Out of everyone here, I'm probably the nicest next to Walter. And the most forgiving. So, answer my questions right, maybe you'll go. And your prayers will be answered.
Oh, this would be good.
But questions first. Who hired you to do the bank heist? Or did we already get answers from that? Sorry, before I fucking talk about something that happened like a year ago.
So what you remember from that is that they weren't necessarily hired. It was more of a... No, I take that back. They were actually hired. You guys had found out from the interrogation that they had ran into Reggie.
Oh, that's right.
And Reggie had kind of shared some stories about you guys and basically told them, hey, if you impersonate this game, it might be easy pickings because their reputation might be where people will give up without a fight.
Right. Okay, so rewind real quick then. Yeah. Well, I actually don't really have many questions for him. We kind of already got all the information we needed from his cohorts like months ago. So to me, this guy is just someone who tried to rob us, but at least he knew kind of better, I suppose. And then I'll kind of look at Liam and I'll be like, can't you do that like memory thing?
He looks up at Way at this point and goes, I swear, if I knew it was you, all I wouldn't have approached. I swear, I've turned my life around. I signed up with these bounty hunters to try and bring criminals to justice.
First off, no one cares if you turned over a new leaf. At least no one in your current company. So that part doesn't really matter. I'm just curious. Does anyone else see an opportunity in letting this person continue his exploits and giving us a bit of credence among the locals? In name only, of course.
Oh. He's only been an inconvenience, so if you have plans for him, you do whatever you want with him. Otherwise, he's just blood.
I mean, at this point, I don't know, man. Do we really need to kill more people at this point? Like,
Oh, he's freaking the fuck out at this point. Like he just sitting
I
there.
didn't say kill. Of course, that's a side effect. People.
like honestly, like we don't really need to. Can't you do that brain thing?
Oh, I can very much see about making him forget what transpired here, but the ones that are on the floor here might wake up and remember something else.
Well, I figured we were gonna deal with them, but at least this guy, like, he tried to run away. Like he knew better, right? And I'll look at him and be like, right?
Yes, yeah, what he said.
See?
Well, and I did promise that other gentleman no further harm would come to him, and I don't necessarily feel like carrying him out of here myself, so it might be helpful to have someone who can get him back to where he's from.
Right? But we gotta, as long as he doesn't remember, I think we're fine, right? Anyone
Mr.
else?
Hill.
Like, I'm just like kind of like looking around at everyone.
I mean, I know Liam can do it, so I mean, if you can remove that inconvenience, then all power to you.
Oh, now, Mr. Tucker, I am going to do you a favor. I'm going to allow you. Oh, yes.
But while you're doing this, I'm just kind of like reach around in my pockets. I'm gonna pull out maybe like $5, and I'm gonna stick it in this guy's pants.
He is looking extremely confused by the turn of events. Like,
Hey man, murder, sadness, confusion, all part of the Spurs. All part of the Spurs here. Go ahead, Loom.
Now, Mr. Tucker, I will do you a kindness, one that really is just the decision of all of us here. I will allow you to leave to take the one gentleman that we have granted amnesty to. And in addition to that, I'll make sure that your evening was far more pleasant than you currently remember. But you cross us again, and I cannot guarantee that I won't make sure you leave thinking you are a 5-year-old little girl for the rest of your life.
If I see you again, you will not be on my good side. You will die.
no, you'll never see me again, I promise.
Good boy. Okay, do your thingy.
Now, you wouldn't mind us looking deep into my eyes.
What? And kind of confusedly, like,
Don't worry. If you prefer ambiance, I could ask my associate here to play his harmonica. He is rather talented at it.
As he wipes the blood from his face.
Oh, blood's on my hands now. I'm just kind of standing supportively, hands on hips.
And I am going to use
Fists.
mesmerize.
okay.
Sorry, not forgetful mind. Sorry.
hmm
Let's see.
What's the roll?
Difficulty is target's current willpower points, and it's wits and subterfuge.
So your difficulty is 2.
Nice.
You have 9 successes.
Okay, this is going to be fun.
Usually is against regular mortals.
Well, okay, every single one of my dice was a 6 or higher, with 2 of them being 10s.
Oh god.
And that's another 10 into a 1, so those cancel each other out. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 7 successes.
Nice. Okay, so let me check this out real quick.
I believe with this amount of successes, I can rewrite entire parts of his history if I chose.
I believe you're correct. If I
He is history at this
Yeah, you've
point.
got like 5+ successes before on someone else, and like we wrote a whole shitload of shit.
a shitload of shit.
Metric fuck ton.
Yes, so 5 successes or more make reconstruct entire periods of subject's life.
So now this does take time. This is the perfect use of this because it's not really something that's great in combat. It's very much you're hypnotizing this person. So as you guys watch as Liam stares at this gentleman, he stares back in his eyes, and suddenly his eyes start drooping and he starts nodding. And Liam, what do you do? What do you recreate in this guy's mind?
Now, Mr. Tucker, I understand that these gentlemen here hired you for good reason. But through your treks through the forest this evening, y'all done came about a very large pack of wolves. Your friends have gone into hysterics. You were beside yourself trying to assist them, all but one fallen. And you have done everything in your power to make sure that man gets back to safety. Now, you know for a fact he was screaming into the night that there were monsters in the woods. You know for a fact they were wolves. But his hysterics and eventual blood loss led to him losing consciousness. And it is your duty to make sure he gets back to town as best he can. Be damned what his crazy stories might be. You know the truth. So you have done everything within your power. Also, for some unknown reason to you,
No.
every time for the remainder of your being that someone says hiccup, you will jump.
Okay, I like this one.
Hell.
Go ahead and give me a manipulation.
I approve of that one.
Oh
I'm gonna say manipulation plus expression, because it's basically it's how well you talk at him and hypnotize him.
I got 3.
Okay. I'm gonna say that's a little bit of a stretch because that's a command,
Oh, fair.
not just altering a memory kind of thing.
I remember Mama used to say jump whenever someone hiccuped.
Tell him he's done it all his life. He's
Yeah,
Like
he's a professional jumper of hiccups.
a stutter.
Oh shit.
What you do at least hear is him go, wolves, so much blood, one left, gotta get him back to town. No monsters.
Now, if there be nothing else, otherwise, all business is concluded.
And for those of you watching, this takes, for brevity's sake, we're doing it in short term, but this takes the better part of like 10-15 minutes. It's a slow, if anyone's ever seen therapists try and use hypnotism to try and help someone, it's basically you going back and plucking memories and re-altering them and convincing the person that what you think you remember, you don't remember, and what I want you to remember, you do remember. So for the better part of 15-20 minutes, you see Liam and this guy talking back and forth as he's kind of in this dazed, hypnotic state. As Liam's just, oh, very good, Mr. Turner, very good. And eventually when he says, and we're done here, he kind of just snaps to, and what are you all doing out here?
Sir, are you all right?
Think so?
The man in the back, he needs your assistance. Yeah, come with me quick.
Right. And he kind of gets up and kind of shakes the snow off himself and follows you.
Oh, there he is. There's no time. Get him and go.
Damn it, Jeb. All right, let me get you out of here.
He looks bushed.
Are you all right? Like, you need to be careful. There's wolves around here.
No, we heard your warnings. Thank you so much. We are loading up our carriage and heading on out.
Right. Well, make sure you get yourselves to safety.
You as well.
You take care of yourself.
And I'll say, because he's in a dazed state, you get the idea that that's why he's not recognizing you guys from the encounter several months back. But you get the idea that it's kind of like someone who's been in a deep sleep and they just got kind of shaken out of it. It takes a while for the brain to catch up in real time, but he at least remembers the parts that Liam put in there, which is, he's got to get his buddy out of here. And you see him kind of lift him over his shoulders and head back to where you assume where they like kind of tied off their horses while they decide to ambush you all. And he heads off into not kind of the night, but you guys get the idea that dawn is approaching.
Ooh, well, that was fun.
Well, I appreciate you doing that, Liam. You know, we really didn't have to kill him.
No, I think it's actually just more fun to mess with him.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. And you see Henry sitting there. What are we gonna do with this lot? As he points to the pile of unconscious men that you guys have stacked up by your carriage.
Oh, never a photographer when I need one.
That I don't really have plans for.
Are we releasing them? Are we?
They're food for us.
At this, he and Peter kind of share a look.
Oh my God.
He goes, right.
Look at it this way. They are in the service of donating some blood to the cause. They'll get it back. If we wanted them dead, we'd have killed them already.
But
No,
Maybe
Are
they
we-
deserve it later. I can't say they treated us too nice.
Are we keeping them during the day? What, you all need to bed down pretty soon. What are we all doing with them during the day?
I was going to say, are we gonna keep these guys? There's like 5 of them, right?
No.
It's like
Yeah.
6 of them. We're not keeping them, right?
I think there's
There's 4 because one was dead and then we just let 2 go.
Oh, and the other 2, right? There's 4.
Yeah, there's 4 total.
the only thing that I'm thinking is that we hold them just for the day, so that they can replenish some of their own resources. We wake up tomorrow evening, we top ourselves off and leave them to their own devices at that point. If we take more blood from them now, they will die. If we at least let them recuperate, we can take a little more tomorrow and no fuss, no muss.
So we kidnap them till tomorrow, top off, and dump them out.
Henry's kind of nodding like he's following along. Peter looks physically
Disturbed.
Yeah, because of course you would.
not quite disturbed, more disgusted. Like, this goes very much against everything he's been taught. And
Would you
as-
prefer we kill them now?
in some ways, yes.
You view it as torture, huh?
I view
Kind
it
of.
as perversion of
is.
nature.
Well, right now, this perversion is the only thing standing between you and utter annihilation.
Which is why though I don't approve, I'm not going to stop you.
But Henry, does that sound doable?
I think we might have enough rope. I'll figure something out.
Here, use some of this. I toss him by like 50 feet.
Okay.
Maybe it's 25 actually.
He goes, all right, well, I can kind of tie the one to the other and make sure that they can't get loose, and I'll make sure their ankles and wrists are tied. I'm sure we can figure out little bits of their own clothing we can use for gags or something so they don't make too much of a ruckus during the day while you all are sleeping. And as this is all happening, everybody here, go ahead and give me a perception alertness roll. Difficulty is 8.
Two successes.
2, 3,
Ew.
2,
4.
4, 3. Okay.
Oh, you said 8. My bad. Hold on. That is not 4.
Okay.
That is a botch. No, that is a 0.
Well, yeah,
Or botch
wait,
zero.
wait, you're just
No,
very
it's a 1. I'm sorry, it's a 1. I can't count.
success.
A 1.
Wow, that was a roller coaster there, Chad. Like,
1 success.
like, wow. We just,
Hey man, there's a lot of modifiers going on, all right?
as you guys are all in the middle of the conversation, you hear the carriage squeak a bit, and then you look up and you see sitting on top of there, Asmodeus. Well, looks like you all had a bit of fun while I was out scouting.
Did you have any fun out there?
Well, I didn't get my throat ripped out by any of the damn wolves, so I consider that pretty fun. But honestly,
Asmodeus, Asmodeus, we found out what the murder face does.
I'm sorry, the murder what?
Oh, we haven't told you. We have a murder face. Well, that's what we've been
Liam here
calling it.
loves his fine pottery and ancient relics. He's a
Right.
collector.
Ooh, and does it shoot anybody?
No, but it does steal souls of the dead and the undead.
No, not really my cup of tea, but you know, if you ever get to talk to Octavian again, he might be more interested in that kind of thing. Or, tell you what, if you sell that to our employer, he might compensate you pretty nicely for it. He likes weird shit like that. Me, if it doesn't go Bane, I don't really give a fuck.
Never really thought about what our good employer would be interested in receiving outside of our missions. He's a collector?
Yeah, he's been around for a bit. Likes weird shit.
I mean,
Oddly enough,
kinda
most
collect-
Venture are.
he
Is
kinda
that just what
collects
happens
people.
when you get rich? I'm addressing this to Liam.
I'm sorry, wait, what was that?
Kind of collects vampires.
Rare
And this
antiquities they
as-
are.
And this, and Moses chuckles, is like, yeah, if they're worth enough.
Oh,
Take that as a compliment.
Results to be seen.
Oh, well.
Well, hey,
Should
at
we
least
start?
we caught this lot of bounty hunters or whatever they are.
Yeah, you did.
Before you did.
Real competition will be when we hit the village, but well on you. I'll give it to you.
I don't know. We figured they'd be a good way to have some breakfast tomorrow evening.
I'm not complaining. At this point, Henry is already getting started on. You see him binding their wrists behind their backs. He's binding their ankles. You kind of get the idea from the knots he's using and everything else of this isn't his first rodeo of given the group that he came from, capturing and interrogating individuals wouldn't be a stretch of his capabilities. Well, respectfully, if you're all going to do anything else tonight, now's about the time, because I'm pretty sure that dawn is quickly approaching.
All right, everyone, get in the pile.
Get in the pile. I'm just gonna kind of wrap my arm around Walter real quick in like a buddy move, and kind of like walk with him and like pull him away from the group real quick,
Okay.
and just be like, just like kind of fake conversation and just like, oh, are you doing okay? Blah blah blah, until we kind of get out of earshot of everyone. Then I'm like,
Give me a
oh no.
manipulation plus subject performance.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, don't you recall all the times that Wea has pretended to be drunk?
Yeah.
All the time.
And then Atris,
It's been at least
and
twice.
Noah,
Yeah, I was like 2 or 3 times.
give me a perception plus. This one's going to be perception plus empathy. You're going to basically be reading the body language.
Well, they're probably gonna beat me because I rolled I one success. Damn it! Before I just said
Okay.
Atris only got one success.
oh,
Okay. 2 successes.
God damn it! Why is it Liam?
Because I have expression.
Noah, how many successes? 2. Okay.
When Wea pulls Walter, by the way, Walter is kind of still reeling and is like bodily uncomfortably easy to pull,
Okay. Where
which
you
probably sells you out a little bit.
yeah, where you notice this of like Walter is almost like non-responsive, like he's walking with you, but like obviously shaken. Atris, wherever you are, you buy it as just the blood bros hanging out. Liam and Noah, you as professional liars yourself, you don't buy it for a second. You get that while you're not necessarily picking up on what they're conversing about, you get the idea that it's that obvious. Hey, can you come into the kitchen for a sec?
So as I pull Walter Wemby and like I start feeling him and like looking at him like, are you okay? Like, can you see? Are you doing all right?
Yeah, you're Wea, right? You're Wea, right? I'm fucking with you.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Something happened with that damn vase. Don't get close to it.
Yeah. Why is it always us that get the ass end of whatever Liam wants to do?
Because you like to watch.
So bad.
And that Liam cares about.
The man's been subject to a lot of horrors on his own. Most of them self-inflicted. I think he lacks it. Maybe he thinks we lack it too. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess only time will tell. But anyway, I know you've been keeping an eye on Henry, and when he walked out of the carriage, when we disposed of everyone, he had this look in his eyes, and when I pressed him forward, God, I want to do Southern accent so bad. When I pushed forward and I kind of like pushed back at him, it gave me a vision of me killing my mother again, and all y'all, I guess, killed in some weird area. I don't know. I can't even put it really together, but something's going on with Henry.
Henry,
I don't
let's
know.
back right up 1 or 5 steps. Henry gave you a vision?
I don't know how else to say it, but you know when someone's friending and I put my hand on him and I try to pull him out of frenzy. It was like the opposite of
Know it
that.
pretty well.
Like he pulled me in rather than me pulling someone out.
Did that happen when you touched him?
I just looked at him. I looked him in the eyes and I kind of like asserted myself. He pushed back at me.
Does my character look back at Henry right now? I'm gonna roll an impatience die. Or it's a self-control roll. There we go. Self-control roll.
Impatience day.
It's an impatience roll with self-control die. Walter is very much in self-control right now, so that's 5 successes. Yeah, I saw something real weird in dude's eyes, but it was just colors. It's like a flash of green, and a little bit of, well, maybe a little more to his expression, but nothing experienced like what you said.
Something's wrong. 100%. I've been around Henry since we've all been around Henry since the beginning. And I'm good at picking this stuff up. Something is wrong. I don't know what we can do. We shouldn't make it a big deal right now, seeing as how we're not in a real big position to really accomplish anything.
Probably not gonna solve that one out here on the road, huh?
No, we're not, but keep an eye on him. If something goes wrong, we might need to subdue him. Because if he's willing to do that to me, I don't know what he's willing to do in the middle of the heat of the fight.
Yeah.
Just keep an eye on him. I know you've been getting kind of close with him, so I figured I'd talk to you first.
You said, well, shit, the one of us is close with him is Liam. I know you might not be as close to Liam. You know what? I could tell Liam, but you're the one who experienced it.
I'll
Good
tell
thing that
you.
Henry is not trying to be in the fight. Maybe we should make sure he's not in the fight.
Yeah, I'll recap with Liam tomorrow morning about it, but we don't really have much time, and I don't want to make it seem too obvious.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'll start kind of walking
Walter
him.
rubs his neck area and like smears more blood off his cheeks and kind of is like nods to Wea.
And I'll kind of like turn up.
You do feel, you notice that for one of the first times in pain is kind of like a different thing. Like once you become a vampire, it's one of those things of you're kind of piloting an undead body. For the first time since you kind of remember being embraced, you are stiff. Like it's almost like your body's trying to come back from rigor mortis. Like it's that thing of, it's like having all over arthritis, like your entire body, the joints in the different parts are just stiff.
Shit, I feel like an old man. Feel like a corpse.
That's a good one, Walter.
Walter actually says that super loud to where like anyone in the carriage area would hear him too.
Knock 'em dead,
We
Walter.
walk back.
All right, you guys walk back. Does anyone else want to do anything before dawn? Or you all bed down for the dawn? Okay.
That's all on me. I'm done.
All right. So are you all piling into the carriage?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give Henry a once over just to kind of take in his facial expression and how I say this. I want to gauge how empathetic I feel like Henry is
Okay.
being towards others around him.
Go ahead and give me a perception plus empathy roll.
Right on. Ooh, that's a good one. Ooh. Oh my.
Walter.
7 successes.
Shit.
Atta boy.
Okay.
Every single die.
You look at Henry, but you try to do so where it doesn't look like you're just sitting there like giving him the once over kind of thing. Right. You know this guy while he was at the time you found him, he was a prisoner, and right before that he told you guys that he had been kind of assigned to a desk job of being the librarian and the person labeling and categorizing everything that the Inquisition found and brought in before they basically volunteered him for this Frankenstein science project of turning him into this holy killing machine. But before that, he did do field work. He told you guys that he was a trained vampire hunter and everything else with the Inquisition. So
Sure.
you get the idea that he understands casualties of war and conflict and things like that. He also is conscious of the fact that he's kind of thrown his lot in with a group of vampires, and he knows better than most mortals of what vampires do in order to keep themselves existing. So he kind of seems resigned to, as you see him tying them all up and checking the knots and making sure that the rope is nice and taut and that it doesn't look like they have any chance of wiggling free or anything like that. You don't notice that he doesn't seem to not care, but it just seems to be, it's the Henry that you guys have been used to kind of thing. If not, because again, by the time you guys found Henry, he had already kind of abandoned God kind of thing. His holy mission, he kind of felt like he was betrayed by the thing he believed in. So it seems kind of par for the course that he just seems mostly indifferent of the, you get the idea that he's justified that these guys drew on you guys. It's not like you guys ran into town and picked people out of their beds or anything like that. So what happens, happens.
Henry, thanks for doing this. It's maybe you don't need to be told, but it's a greater help to our cause here than you can imagine. Maybe you can imagine it. You know what? Thank you.
He chuckles a bit, and again, as you're looking at him, you don't see, when you look at his eyes, there's definitely a intelligence. When you look past his glasses and everything else, there's an intelligence to him. He's definitely smart, and there is a light behind his eyes, like he's not cold or indifferent. It's just one of those things of, he smiles at you and he goes, well, birds have to eat and fish have to swim, and you have to do what you need to do. So if this
We're more like hummingbirds with this lot.
Oh my god.
Juicy
Sure.
nectar.
very violent hummingbirds.
This is why I move so fast.
I need that shirt.
I say
We are
that while
violent
walking away.
hummingbirds.
He just kind of chuckles to himself and continues finishing his work. And yeah, so okay, do you all pile into the carriage?
The only thing I do is
Yeah.
I take out Bartleby and I put him on the seat and wrap him in blankets because it's cold.
Mhm.
At this point, you see that both Peter and Henry seem to be starting the makings of a fire, knowing that you guys are all going to be going unconscious, so that way they can enjoy 12 hours or so of enjoying a fire without setting you all off.
And keep these bounty hunters possibly a little more alive.
Yeah.
Don't
So you all bed down for the dawn. On the sleep of death takes you all. Wea, I need you to go ahead and make a nightmares roll for me, please. And I will say, it's pretty cramped in here, given the size of some of your compatriots between Wea, Atris, Noah, Liam, Walter, and Asmodeus, all cramped in here. It's pretty cramped. Like, there's definitely some of you that are sleeping on the floor and kind of on top of each other, and it's a giant cuddle puddle.
Boobs are being touched.
So many boobs.
Get your hands off on those.
Oh, I succeed. 2 successes.
You sleep soundly without any nightmares encroaching into your mind. Those of you that are down any willpower, you gain a willpower point back.
Ooh, I need that.
Not even using willpower.
As consciousness takes you all again, spend a blood for waking up.
Aww.
And the evening is yours.
Well, I can use some blood. Anyone?
Asmodeus speaks up. Well, you know I'm game.
Yeah, we're supposed to let these ones go, I think. After.
Why?
We're trying to do what the hell's it called when you're making nice with others that is different from you, William?
Stupid.
Dip,
Yeah. This is
dip,
blood.
dipla.
You are muted.
Oh, diplomacy, I think.
Now
Or diplomat.
y'all know that these guys experienced you all feeding on them, and you're gonna let them all go.
No, I don't believe we are, because I'm afraid that after we're all done with them, none of them are going to be able to live.
Oh, I only let technically 2 go. We just didn't have a
Oh.
reason to kill them last night.
Because I'm just saying, they've seen all your faces.
I mean,
They don't know what happened. You know what?
I mean, the
I was
options
out of
are
it.
we either
last-
get
I
rid
don't
of
know.
them or we hypnotize them all.
Well, and I'm down a little bit of blood from some of the things I did last night, plus the bleeding of the ears. That wasn't fun.
No, it wasn't.
I also don't think we have time to hypnotize them all.
Yeah, I probably don't have time actually. We need to get going.
I mean, how cold is it outside when we walk outside? Like, how cold is it?
Okay,
Can
so
we,
you all
like,
start.
see our...
You all start to exit out. It's pretty cold.
Oh,
I mean,
are we having this conversation in a puppy pile? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, like as I
We're
was
all
like,
just like laying there. So what are we doing with
creaking
the
awake.
bodies?
yeah, just started talking.
Yeah.
But
Get
you
your knee
know,
out of there,
this
Noah.
conversation probably carries it outside. Well, we carry it outside.
I will also say it is. It smells very much of Noah in here. You are in a tight, enclosed space as he has been permeating the air.
It smells earthy.
Yeah, it is a pungent Noah smell that is now seeping into the fabric of this carriage.
Our clothes.
Well, good thing
Evening, y'all.
Good thing we own it and we're not renting.
So I'll say you guys start to exit. Upon exiting,
Anymore.
again, the cold doesn't affect you guys as much, but you gather from. Well, let's see. I'm gonna have one of you. You can decide. Let's see. Noah, I'm gonna have you do it.
There you
Roll a d10 for me, please.
Which one's a
Gladly.
Wow. The third one.
D10? Yeah.
What did you roll? 1. Okay.
Nice. A+ roll, dude.
You guys exit, and it looks like it snowed hard.
Hell yeah.
Day.
Perfect.
You come out, and as you open the door, a pile of snow crunches down, and it looks like there was at least a good 5 inches from the time that you guys were last awake.
I know what to do. We feed it and then we make real life snowmen.
Oh my god.
There's a
Liam.
whole bunch of fresh, and you see mouthwords. You see PETA, Henry, Bartleby, Sonoy hurtle up to there is a fire that they have made, though you do see that they've made it away from where the carriage is. You just see it off in the distance, not so it's far enough away where it's not triggering you all, but you can make the outlines of them all huddled around that. And you see 4 other figures seemingly
Yeah.
sitting down near it. As most as you can tell, they are still bound and just kind of there. But it is, as you guys don't breathe, so there's no breath coming out.
Out of the 4 of them, are there any of them that I can actually partake of?
There's one from what you
Okay.
remember. But blondish hair, kind of long down to her shoulders, pockmarked face,
Fair.
kind of strawberry blonde stubble beard coming in.
Well, if anyone wants, we did bring whiskey with us.
As you're talking, it seems like someone looks up and Bartleby and Henry come walking back to you both. Bartleby, evening, master. I hope you all rested well. We were able to keep these guys quiet. We were able to do a bit of hunting. Henry and I got a couple of rabbit, and we were able to make something of a dinner for ourselves. What do you plan to do with them? Do we need to drag them over here for you?
I mean, we could go to them. I don't see the need for us to be hauling bodies.
Well, there's a fire that and Henry kind of speaks up. Yes. With all due respect, it was a rather rough couple of hours. We would very much like to keep the fire going. And you see that as these two are approaching, there's a heavy, every time they exhale, there's a heavy cold breath coming out of
Liam just kind of playfully bats at it.
But you get the idea that they are sitting there bundled up tight, even in their winter clothes. They're just kind of as they walk away from the fire.
I suppose it is best that they're brought over here.
Right. I can do that for you, sir. And Bartleby walks off and Henry goes, been talking with our new friend, PETA, and seems like he's suggesting a path that doesn't seem wrong. It just seems going through the mountain rather than over it to try and avoid detection.
And do you see a problem with this?
It's, from what I know from the limited bit of reading that I've done, the safer way is over the top. But then again, that's usually the path that they use to get home. So logic does say that that is the path that might be watched more. And I know we have abilities to help hide from prying eyes, but it does run its own risk. However, going through the mountain, I know almost nothing about this path, though I did hear something about it being watched by the ancestors or something to that. So
sounds like we're one path and watch for another.
The decision's yours, but from what I understand, it's his logic checks out of that. It seems to be the path they use in a crisis in order to hide from attackers. It's the secret passage that they only use in emergencies. Thus, it would make sense that it's not as guarded, but what other fail safes or booby traps or things that path might hold. Unfortunately, I never found any research that particularly depicted that, so we would be relying 100% on him to be guiding us not into a trap. The choice is yours. I'll follow your lead. I just thought I would share this information with you.
Is PETA standing here with this
No, he is
conversation?
he's still by the fire.
Oh, okay.
He only Bartleby and Henry came over to greet you guys by the carriage, and then Bartleby walked back to seemingly start to drag the guys over here. So it's literally you guys and Henry, and then Bartleby, PETA, and the captives by the fire. That seems like a good 40 feet away to try and not trigger you guys.
How in what way would he mean through the? Is there like a tunnel? Is it just like the valley? Should we can ask him, right?
From what I understand, I mean, we had most of the day to converse when we weren't hunting for food. There is a switchback trail that leads up and over the mountain. However, along that path, there is a offshoot of the road. The other benefit, from what I understand, is this secret path is a bit wider and it might be easier for the carriage to traverse. The up and over path might be a little bit more risky for the carriage, and while doable, it's mostly meant for single file horse travel rather than a wide carriage going over.
So Walter, secret passage. Booby traps, but faster.
My vote is carriage safety. We don't make it back without the carriage. If the carriage falls off the path, we're done for.
How long would it be separated from the carriage for if we were to take this path? Do you happen to know?
It's not that we'd be separated, it's just that it'd be harder to traverse. And if we make a wrong step and the carriage goes flying off the path,
Of course.
We don't make it home. I do, but I'm not sure about you guys.
No, I'm not wanting to get up the carriage. I just was curious how far we would have to go before we'd have to go on foot.
To the best of my understanding, again, we can ask him, but to the best of my understanding, there would be no need to necessarily go on foot. It's just the width of the path for the up and over bit is more meant for single file horse travel rather than a carriage. It's manageable from what he remembers, but it's going to be a very tight squeeze. And once, especially, you get up high enough, there's a couple 100-foot drop if the horses or carriage stumble and fall.
Sounds like the low path is the safer way in two different. Well, it's safer in two different ways and maybe more dangerous in two other ways. But all the same, the dangers we know about are less if we go lower, and then dangers we're worried about but may not exist are what we're dealing with then. We should be worried about those if we go up high anyway.
Yeah, he's not exactly providing a more compelling option with his routes if, we have to, one, abandon our carriage at a certain point, and two, we absolutely don't know what's on that path.
I mean, I'm all for the secret passage that lets the carriage go through.
Yeah, we keep the carriage. That's the easiest way that we all make it out of here. So we'll take the hidden route.
Less danger to it, less visibility to us.
We go through the mines of Moria.
And I can carve horrible messages on the inside when no one's looking.
Does Walter have any? Is this a role? Do I have any kind of familiarity with this region of Texas?
I mean, in a general sense, especially since you have the merit, but what are you specifically trying to suss out?
Even if I have the merit, I mean more like just my background of like travel and taxes and stuff. I want to know if I know how much of one night it would take to clear the mountain regardless. And if I also would have a decent idea of whether one path takes longer or shorter based on the routing.
I would say you know nothing about this secret passage, so it's kind of hard to say which one is like longer or shorter. But go ahead and give me a wits plus survival roll, please.
I will do so. Maybe I won't do so. 0.
You have no clue. You've never been in this specific area before. And so you're just going off of everyone else's information at this point. I mean, you guys can physically see the plateau ahead of you, and it is pretty tall. Like, so it's one of those things of, he did mention a switchback trail, which means it's going to zigzag up the side of this thing. Assumedly have to go over the flat part on the top and then zigzag down the other side. So
Logic would probably dictate that going up is slower unless the bottom path is windy. Then,
Correct.
yeah, fair enough. Hey, just my suggestion. I just think lower solves a couple of our problems. This might, assuming the kid's not trying to pull something real creative, but everything I've seen from him, every interaction I've had with him and watched y'all have with him, he looks genuine. Looks like he wants to save some of his people and right something wrong. So I don't think he accomplishes that if he just sends us down there and into a trap, but maybe there's something I don't know.
If he is related to Morakuru, then I'm sure we can trust him. If he's shown us nothing but goodness so far, Morakuru did the same.
All right,
Listen to him.
go path it is then.
So
What do you say, Noah? Secret tunnel or up and over?
I think I know his answer.
I believe his finger pointing is for the inside.
We're going secret tunnel.
what is it, Noah? Timmy fall down the well?
I want
You know
to
what?
get
Timmy
under the
deserved it.
dirt.
Timmy
Why do you
deserved
keep
it.
digging more wells in walkways?
Show me how well they get under the dirt and stuff. I like it.
All right.
I like it.
By this point, much like a chain gang from a prison, you see Bartleby with a rope, and you get the idea that Henry tied them all together so that way they can just kind of barely shuffle themselves as he's leading the 3 other guys over to you. Oh, I'm sorry, the 4 other guys to you guys. Wrists still bound behind their backs, legs with just enough room that they can't run, but they can kind of shuffle forward a bit, all tied to each other as they lead you over. And Bartleby sitting there with a pistol so that way they don't get any funny ideas. And he goes, well, Master, these are them.
All right. Now, who needs to take what? Because I'm not thirsty, but as you know, I need a little more blood than normal. So I will not be sparing one if I take some blood.
Let's see, after last night and waking up this evening, I need 5.
Asmodeus goes, oh, I'm not planning on these guys leaving. And you see all of the 4 guys are like looking amongst themselves and everything else, and just like, you all are sick fucks, you know that?
Yeah.
That's gonna live. Okay. So just shut up.
Did Walter lose a second blood point when his ears bled?
Yes.
Okay. Or like a blood point, yeah. Okay.
Leia will
Yeah,
say,
I need to
I
need some of this
definitely
too.
I need to replenish my resource for me and Sonoy.
And Atris only gets half the value anyway. So
I need very little. 2 points will be enough to suffice for me.
Atris technically needs 8 blood points.
Game mechanic wise, you guys know that there are a total of 40 blood points from which to divvy up from these folks if you don't care about their well-being.
Nah, they're dying.
We care about our well-being first,
Yeah.
and there's not really an option
man.
where the two
They attacked
coincide.
us. As far as I know, they're food.
The sacred timeline where the 2 of us were living kind of ended
Yes.
as soon as they met us.
All right, what are y'all doing?
well, I'm
So
going to take 5 from the one that I can eat.
So you guys just all just and short frenzy.
I walk slightly away from the group and just start digging.
What the
Okay.
fuck, dude?
You guys,
I'm
you guys
gonna
see
just
you see Noah pull out his serrated shovel and just start digging a hole in the dirt.
well in the snow because
I go to the-
fucking
Noah,
snow.
go ahead and give me a strength.
Buried treasure.
At this point, it's just going to be a straight strength roll. Don't forget.
He
Your
struck oil.
Yeah. I said we quit this job and become millionaires. See?
I know, from the ground came crude oil. That is black gold.
Texas tea.
Instead of like the Texaco star, it can be like W for Walter.
That's really the shit that's been pouring out of the Elder's cave this entire time.
It's just he struck oil and he's
Just
being
oil, and he's just sitting there like Scrooge McDuck, just like.
yeah, he's like swimming in it and shit.
God. It's just an environmental disaster happening.
His little bat ears are
now
flapping
you know
too.
why Pembroke really wants the land. It's just like
Hey, whatever you do, don't tell PETA.
right?
Which Peter?
I rolled a 7.
You guys just the ground is frozen solid and pretty rocky out here. You don't even give a fuck. It's a
This is the best digger in the South, the Midwest.
yep. All right.
I'm at
So,
home.
how much blood do you all take as you jump in on these guys?
I'm just refilling me and Sonoy's blood levels
Yep.
to max 2 points.
I go on the flank. I take 2 blood.
2.
From whomever, whichever one always taken 2, H will take the remaining 8.
Okay, 8 from you. So that's 12. 1. That's 13.
I need 5.
You got it. Okay, so that's 18.
I'm taking stock. If it looks kind of like there's room to drain a couple more, I'm gonna pump my my dex and strength. 1 point each. Take 2 more blood, so 4. 2
I
more.
mean, you
2 more.
can. You do know that it's something that you can only hold for so long. It's like kind of keeping a muscle flex. It's not going to just last the rest of the night.
It's not a prophylactic.
Yeah, that's why I'm not
That's what
pumping
she
these
said.
stats to full.
Yeah, then go for it. Yeah, you can take a little extra. In the meantime, you kind of see Asmodeus as he's smiling and kind of looking at them. And
I back away from the people.
Yeah, can I not be near the nightmare monster when he starts eating people?
sure,
I'm just
that's
gonna
not-
I'm gonna walk over to where Noah is digging, and the snow that he is kicking up, I'm just going to start building a snowman.
I'm actually walking over to Henry. No, wait, if he's if he goes back to the fire, I'm not doing that. Never mind.
no, Henry's kind of he's definitely getting cold. You can see that he's kind of looking longingly at the fire, but
Looking longingly.
I'm gonna stand kind of near him.
okay. I'm actually gonna have to roll for Henry once, but you see now, if I remember correctly, none of the rest of you has really seen the nightmare fuel that is Asmodeus, except for Noah.
For
No,
Noah.
I'm walking away from that shit though. I know that's all bad.
Noah
That's
had
not
no
true when-
Do
problem.
you know that's bad? Because have you seen?
I
this?
don't know that's all bad, but I do want to talk to Liam.
Sure.
So I do
I'll
have
say-
a character reason. to
So
walk
as
away.
is new to everyone except for Noah, you see Asmodeus looking at all of them, each dead in the eye until he gets all of their attention. And a minute or two goes by of them just staring at him, and then suddenly tears start coming down their eyes and sweat, and they all just start screaming. And Asmodeus, no, sorry, actually, before this, before he does this, he actually turns to Atris and goes, "If you would do me kindness, could you mind throwing up your little cone for me for a moment?"
I suppose I can spend this with him for gravity's sake.
Thank you. And again, you're kind of confused about why he's doing this because again, you haven't seen this before.
Right.
then flash forward to again the sweating, the crying, and then these grown men all start screaming their heads off. I'm sorry, please, no, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it. As well, I mean, you guys are inside the cone because is in order for Atreus to, and Asmodeus goes, yes, that's what Daddy was looking for. And just goes and just one goes for the jugular and just latches on and starts draining and then ripping the throat out of one guy.
Yeah.
The other, you see him grab the jaw of the guy that's screaming, and you hear snap as he breaks the jaw and bites the guy's tongue from the inside.
Ew.
And
God dang.
the other one, you just sit there and go, please, I don't want to see anymore. Wish granted. As he just grabs the guy's skull and digs his thumbs into the eyes. As you just hear that sickening noise.
Oh, dude.
And then so it's like drinking the blood off that's running from the face kind of thing.
Why?
And the last one, he just sits there and goes, oh, I don't even need you. I'm half tempted to let you live in this, but I wonder, is your spine as yellow as you show? And he goes behind the guy and you just see him reach in and you hear as you hear ribs breaking as a guy, and you hear this sickening as part of the guy just slumps over as part of the bone of his spine is in Asmodeus's hands.
Fatality.
Yeah, for real.
The snow around is just this gore scene of, and he just sits there. If that doesn't get one ready for a massacre, nothing will.
Liam's just gonna pick up some of the bloody snow and use that to make the head of his snowman.
He's probably gonna watch this. Actually, well, I mean, if Liam's watching it, I guess I'm next to Liam.
Okay, so Henry needs to make a roll.
Also, Aegis will drop in silence as soon as she knows everyone's dead and silent.
Like, what the fuck?
I knew he scared the shit out of him every time, but did he have to touch everyone's food?
Oh my
He didn't even
God.
wash his hands.
You're right, Liam, he didn't.
Walter, you said you were watching Henry during, or was it Wea? Which one of you said that?
I walked up to Henry
Okay.
and yes, I am trying to be aware of his reactions.
Perception alertness, please.
I can't possibly roll as poorly as I did last time.
Dead.
Oh, that's a couple tens and a couple ones. Who knows what's gonna happen? Those are the only like dice that matter too. So I'm at a 0 right now. And 2 successes.
It is distracting watching this level of grotesque, like seeming to enjoy. He did something to torture their minds and then just did the coup de grace to their bodies. Like this is, especially for most of you, your clans are predominantly part of the Camarilla. Atreus, even your clan, yeah, you've touched, you know that there are members of your clan that have tortured prisoners and, you know, to get information out of you. There's always a cause to it. But more than that, you're more about the silent quick kill kind of thing. That's more about getting in, getting out, getting the job done kind of deal. This, for all of you, just seems, even by your species standards, this is someone who enjoys pain for pain's sake kind of thing. This is someone who is getting off on it. And I mean, this, you have to also understand in the time history kind of thing, this is before the thing of like serial killers and thing like of that was even a term that people had coined, kind of thing. And you might have heard stories about people in history who, in order to scare the opposing army, did things of brutality or whatever to get people to yield. But this is dark and yet almost ritualistic. Like there's almost like a ceremony to this. Like he's doing the way that he's reveling in the pain and the blood. There's almost something religious about it to him, not to you guys. It seems like grotesque. Which of you has the highest perception roll?
Wait,
Either Wea or Noah.
I have a 5 in perception.
I have 3 in perception.
All right.
With acute senses dropping my difficulty.
Okay, I'll say Noah and Wei, I'm gonna let you guys make this roll. Give me a perception plus alertness. The difficulty is 9 because he does this very subtly.
And now that's 9 even with my -1 the difficulty.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a merit for any visual roll to be
Yeah, me and you have the same
lower.
merit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
And
it's
that's why
still
I'm letting
9.
it be 9, not 10, because this was a very subtle, small gesture.
Oh boy, here we go, guys.
And it's only perception or
Perception
perception.
alertness.
Perception
down-
alertness.
You look down at Asmodeus' hand and you see him doing this.
Oh no.
Oh,
Is it below the knee? It
got
only
us.
counts if it's below the knee. I got a 2. I got a 9 and a 10.
I got a 9, a 10, and I re-rolled it to a 9.
The
I got a
fuck?
4.
Okay.
All right.
Wea, you see that he's doing something in his hand with the blood, but you can't make out quite what. Noah, it's hard for you because, again, you're not standing like right over him looking in his hand. But you do see him trace in the blood what almost looks like some kind of circle, and then another symbol on the inside with these little lines coming off the outer circle.
Probably a cootie shot.
And then you just see him sit there and close his eyes and close his fist on the hand that he drew the symbol in. And you see him bite his own hand with his fangs and kind of add his blood to the mix. And then you see him take his hand and on each of his guns just touch 2 fingers to each gun.
Liam is drawing a happy face on the bloody
Right,
snowman
so-
top with
Oh,
little
boy.
fangs.
At this
boy.
point, Henry, so for your roll, Walter, you got 2 successes. You see Henry's eyes dilate for a quick second, and then he snaps back and he's just himself again, and he's like, oh, well, that was unpleasant. Ugh.
You ever see anything like that? Because I haven't.
Once there was a nest we had to clear out of your kind. It was a certain Hmm? What was that?
Oh, it's just like how much, like how much can you compare it to? Like unless they disemboweled everyone.
There was some group of your kind that seemed to revel in the pain and suffering of others and saw it more of a sport. this is somewhat reminiscent of that, and it's equally unpleasant. I strongly suggest we cover this scene before our lupine friend sees it, or that might push him over the edge of rethinking our even tentative alliance.
Yeah, you're right. He's right.
No need to scare them anymore.
Do we have a extra shovel, Noah, or do you just have ours?
I don't know. I figured you just do it with your hands or something. How do you go to sleep sometimes? I've seen you do it.
While they're
You dig a
talking, I just
6-foot
do it.
hole.
I'll say on the carriage, you guys at least have one extra shovel just as different climbing or gear that you figured you might need in travel.
I help.
I
dig
sweep
the
a bunch
hole.
of snow over with my hands right now,
Okay.
just over just seeing stuff.
So
I also
who's helping to hide the bodies?
Oh, I imagine I get a group activity.
I will help.
What was
I
that,
also
Walter?
I also ruin Liam's lovely finger painting and cover it with white snow. Oh, you can't. This ain't we're not playing with it. Your mother never teach you not to eat red snow or play with it or whatever. Hell.
I thought it was yellow snow to watch out for.
All right, everyone, give me a wits plus survival roll.
Don't we have a friend that does this for us when we're not looking?
I thought that was only to. Well,
I got a 1 on that one.
Okay,
2 successes.
This is about our current company.
0, 2.
Yeah, I got 2 as well.
All right. Overall, as a group check, not bad. You guys feel like you've done a pretty good job of covering and burying the bodies, the red snow. There's still a little bit of it, but not nearly the grotesque scene that it was.
That's my goal.
It looks like a normal murder scene.
Yes.
At this point, PETA does walk up, and he's kind of looking around. And he's like, he notices that the 4 guys aren't there. He's not stupid that they aren't
It
there.
flew away.
Yeah, and he just goes, we should probably get a move on. But night is waning, and not to mention that the smell of blood might be cause for investigation if there's any patrols out.
Let's go.
Shoot, I didn't think about that. Could you smell them from over there?
It's hard not to.
Let's get a move on.
All right. Okay. What's the are we doing the same marching order of who's on top, who's on the turret, who's on the roof, who's on the bench, and who's inside?
I will be riding shotgun.
Okay.
And I will still be driving.
Okay.
Still be inside with the mounted with their crossbow.
Okay.
Still inside.
Okay. Walter?
I think I'm on top with Asmodeus if that's what we did last time.
Yep, Asmodeus climbs up and he's on the turret, but you're sitting up there with him. PETA is Henry's inside with Atris and Noah. PETA's riding his horse alongside you guys, sometimes in front, because as he's somewhat of a guide. So, all right, you all take off towards the plateau. And as you approach, you get closer and closer as the thing starts to. You're still following, and like before, the moon seems to be going in the direction of this plateau. So you know it's the right one that's on the path. And this is a pretty tall plateau. Like you're looking up, and this thing is, as you're approaching it and getting closer, and it's kind of casting a shadow over you. It's a good several hundred feet up in the air. Like, I mean, this thing continues. It is a mountain. And as you get closer, you notice that the snow covered, I'd say with the with the weather, you're noticing that this is kind of a difficult trek. Like the horses are kind of having their issues with the deeper snow, and as people who have ridden horses many times, there's always that fear of them finding a bad footing on a rock or a gopher hole or something that this deep snow is making, that you just have to hope that a horse isn't going to twist the leg. So I need Liam to go ahead and roll a dex plus this is actually going to be more animal ken, because you're not actually riding them. It's more of trying to get them to do what you need them to do.
Can I, being next to him and being proficient in animal ken, can I like help give him pointers?
Sure,
like,
I'll say that
steer
lowers
through
the
the
difficulty a bit. So I'll say that keeps it to standard difficulty rather than being more difficult.
So you got to move him like this, Liam. Like, come on, give me the reins. You're not doing this right.
Ari?
2, okay. Nothing's spectacular, but you feel like you're keeping them going in the right direction. You're avoiding any obvious issues. You see every time the horses breathe out, it is the deep mist coming out. You can tell it is cold. And for what it's worth, you did see that it looked like Henry and Bartleby. Oh, Bartleby's inside with you guys too. So many NPCs for me to keep track of. You notice that Bartleby and Henry and all of them bundled the horses up well. They definitely have the blankets on and everything else, where as best they could, the horses are protected from the elements. And you notice that it's starting to get rockier, and there's other mountains or hills that this plateau is kind of connected to that make it that it would be well out of your way to try and avoid these mountainous hillsides in order to get to the village. You would have to go like days out of your way if you were trying to go like around this whole thing. And PETA leads, and he goes, up ahead here is where the trail starts heading up. We go about halfway, and that's where the passage will lead through the plateau. So you guys start to head up. Liam, I need you. This is going to be a Dex plus Animalkin. The difficulty is 8.
I honestly do not remember if my cool horse is
I got 1.
just tethered behind us or if it's leading the horse train. I think it's tied behind us.
I think it's behind you, because you wanted it to be easily detached from the rest of the team.
Yep. Yeah.
How many successes, Liam? 1.
All right.
Okay. So as you guys are going up, you notice where the path starts to lead in a gradual, slowly more steeper, and then you see it where it's basically your butt up against this plateau as you're starting to go up, and you do see something that's been carved up of something of a horse trail up here, but it is narrow. And as you're going up and you're looking at the width of the carriage, which as it is, this is not a small carriage. This is a pretty luxurious.
It's a wide girl.
It's a luxurious carriage. There are parts, as this is not a perfectly made, this isn't like a paved path that's coming up here, where the wheels that are on, as you're going up this path, there are times where the wheels that are on the outside are just barely still touching down on the road, where if one of you tried to open up the doors out of this thing, it would just be a straight drop down. And there are a couple times, I'd say with one success, you're able to do it, but there are a couple times where the carriage scrapes against the side of the mountain. There's a couple times where the wheels start going and some of the rock cracks underneath and one of the wheels kind of bounces down. There's a couple times where it's touch and go and you guys get very nervous about this thing. And every so often, PETA looks back at you all, careful. Be very careful. This path isn't really meant for this, as he kind of just gestures at the carriage.
Did you just gesture to all of me?
No, that's your carriage. But
Is he taking us like up and over or
Oh,
through
yeah,
his
yeah.
secret passage?
well, because he told you that the secret passage is about midway through.
Oh, okay. That is what he meant. Okay.
Yeah,
All
you
right.
go about midway up, and then it's going to lead you to where you need to go. So you follow this switchback path, and it is, you can tell that the horses are nervous and cold. It's Sonoy's kind of padding up along in front, and you get the idea that he's kind of sniffing around and looking. Are you guys going for, ooh, I actually need, those that are on the outside. So I need Liam, Walter, and Wea to make a perception alertness roll.
Okay. That's
always-
not a good roll. 0.
Oof.
All 4s and 5s.
Did I not cast conceal on the carriage today?
Nope.
As of yet, you have not.
Oh golly, what a big mistake.
Well,
I had meant to.
That's 5 successes with 3 ones, so 2 successes.
Okay.
I got 2 overall.
Okay. Liam and Wea, as you're kind of looking at the path ahead, trying to make sure that you're following it as close as possible and not going off the side of this thing. Wea, you see it first and you kind of nudge Liam and point to him. You do see in the snow what looks like a combination of hoof prints and large animal tracks that have come through here.
How large?
Bigger than the hoof
I'm
prints?
pretty well rounded with animals, so I'm pretty sure I might be able to make an accurate guess.
It's horse size, but rather than the small impact of the hoof, it seems like a large paw print. And you do remember the conflicts you guys have had of the lupines that can transform themselves into basically dire wolves that are kind of the size of horses.
Do you see that over there, Liam?
I do. But we expected some sort of welcoming party, possibly.
And I'm kind of like whispering to, I like lean over to Liam's ear and be like, so we're still trusting that we're going the right way, right?
I believe so, but I might suggest you keep your ears open.
Yeah, at this point, I'll remove my hat and I'll like expose my ears and I'll just try and see if I can, I'll just close my eyes and concentrate and see if I can hear anything. Is it like a super windy day? Is it like a lot of wind?
There is still snow falling and there is a bit of a bitter wind going with that roll from before. The weather is not great.
Is it bitter? Absolutely.
Yeah. Can I do like a hearing check?
Sure. Perception alertness for hearing. I will say at this point, you guys are also very aware of the fact that you are currently not
We're not what? Sorry?
Not on what?
obfuscated.
Not obfuscated, right?
Now, again, this can change, but someone would have to cast something.
I got a 0. 5 successes on the hearing check.
Okay. You're listening past the wind, and the wind is getting worse as you're getting higher up off the ground. However, the plateau itself does kind of act as a buffer a little bit. And You don't hear anything at the moment that would be distressing other than normal nighttime sounds.
Mhm.
So you're fairly confident that there's at least nothing in the immediate vicinity that would be cause for alarm.
Well, whatever's around us doesn't seem to be making noise if it's around us. So I seem pretty confident that we're good right now.
Hopefully those little smelly pouches are doing the trick.
Right. And I'll kind of like look back and I'll like knock on one of like the sides or like a window of the carriage. And I'll say, do we want to do our hocus pocus magic tricks to kind of conceal us? Are we going in full blown?
Oh yeah, give me just a moment. I'll cast conceal for the whole carriage.
Yeah. Teamwork.
That doesn't do anything for the people on the outside though. So
Yeah,
it's just a
we're just
carriage.
floating.
But we'll see through the carriage, correct?
I mean,
Mostly.
We wouldn't see through it. We would try and ignore it the best we can.
I mean, you would see through the carriage, and for those of like before, for those of you inside that are also now seeing through yourselves, again, it's kind of wavy, almost like looking at a hot road with the line waves through it. But as you're looking down, you do see the ground, and then you look just to the edge, and you see this sheer drop as you guys just kind of feel like you're floating about 4 feet off the ground and looking down and seeing this extremely sheer drop off the edge of this trail.
now, from the inside perspective, can we them floating on the outside, or to us on the inside, does this thing just look opaque and like just an inside interior?
No, it still looks. You still look like you. It's hard to see each other or the carriage or anything else. You're mostly seeing the outside at this point. It takes you guys a good with trying to be this is very much a being careful, not fast kind of situation. It takes you guys about 3 hours to get from where you had been camped to getting up this switchback. Now you get the idea. It was around, I mean, Liam has a pocket watch on him. You woke up around 7 o'clock at night. So it's around 10-ish.
Oh no, it is winter in Texas. The sun sets about 5:30.
Fair enough. We'll say you woke up at 6.
Attitude.
We'll say you woke up at 6 though, since you guys don't have the early riser merit. And so I'd say it's about 9 o'clock by this point, give or take. So still early enough, and that's why you're traveling like first thing. But you get to a certain point where there's a ledge where the path for a small bit widens out a little bit. And for the first time going up this thing, you all kind of have a moment of relief of like, oh, there's actually at least now 5 inches between the wheel of the wagon and this cliff face kind of thing. So it's one of those things of at least that's better than what it was. And you get up and PETA kind of puts his hand up like this and gives you the sign to stop for a second. And then he goes up to what almost looks like 2 large boulders that have kind of fallen in where they're resting on each other. Go ahead and give me a perception alertness for those who are either looking outside the window. Well, all of you can now see invisibly, so you can all kind of take this roll if you want.
Perception what?
Perception alertness, difficulty is 7.
Okay, then still, I got an 8.
Cool.
Working on it.
2.
Said 8.
Yes.
No, the difficulty is 7. I got an 8. Is what happened.
Yeah. Sorry. Difficulty is 7.
Single botch.
Oh boy. I'm outside.
You're starting
That's
to
a
nice
suspect that this
boulder.
guy is leading you the wrong way, kind of deal. Like this is starting to feel like, where the fuck is this guy taking us?
Oh boy.
2, 7. Okay.
Liam, are we sure we're going the right way? Are we sure we're gonna trust this guy? Like,
No, I think it's fine. I think it's just, it looks like they concealed it just kind of around the crevice here, where the two boulders, the mounds meet.
In the
Got this.
cleavage of the mountain.
the gentle bosom of the mountain.
Yes. The Grand Tetons. But
Oh my god.
Noah, you specifically, with having a clan that specializes in the keeping and, when need be, exposing of secrets, and especially our use of secret passages, secret ways carved into different places, it's like you can almost smell that there's a secret here to be uncovered, and you get that there's more here than what it seems. And as he goes towards it, you also look above where these two boulders are meeting, and you remember those scratch marks in the Star Cavern that you guys were at that seemed to be the language of the lupines carved in. And you notice, most people wouldn't notice this. It would just seem like cracks or divots in the mountainside. But if you're looking for it, it actually looks like there's a couple of these lupine words carved in above what would be the arch of this.
Fuddruckers.
They've got master stone workers at work here, my boys.
And you see him for the first time. You see Peter look back at you guys, and at first, for a brief second, he looks kind of confused. Again, as he only looks to be about 17, 18. And from the description you guys got from Henry, this isn't a path that's commonly used. You get the idea that maybe he's even never personally used this path himself. And he looks kind of confused for a second. He's kind of muttering to himself. Saddles his horse right up next to it and mutters something to himself and touches the wall. And there's a bit of a shimmering as the elusive face of this thing kind of almost melts away. And you see a tunnel that is going right into the side of the plateau, while the main path you guys were following continues up the side.
Well, I'll be damned.
I already am.
Whoa.
Looks like he wasn't lying.
And he looks back at you all and goes, if you have light sources, now might be the time to use them.
I'll knock on the carriage and I'll just say, light up your light sources.
Wea, no need. I've been dying to use this for a while now. And I rub my signet ring and I spend a willpower and I turn on my ring.
As Liam focuses on the ring that he got from Josephine,
Nice. Oh, shit.
It starts to glow. First, it's just the ring itself and the band of it. And then it starts to, in almost this sphere, go out, and it is this not intense light. It's not like a bright fire torch being, lighting the way, but this moonlight, almost like being in the full moon, only brighter. And it produces this light around that kind of helps light the way.
There's nothing to sphere but sphere itself.
And you all head into, it creates this light and you're able to now see clearly the details and everything around you.
Cool. That's a hell of a trick.
How wide is this passage that we're going through?
I would say it's a good... it's not a perfectly it's not
carved perfectly.
Yeah, it's not carved perfectly. Although you do notice wooden beams that have been kind of like a mining situation have been put up so that way the thing doesn't cave in, and you notice beams on the side and everything else. And about every 10 feet or so, there's another set of beams and some up on the top as well to try and keep this whole thing from collapsing inward. But it's a good about 15 feet wide.
Okay.
But again, there are parts where it gets a little bit more narrow and a little bit, but it's not perfectly.
It's not perfect, yeah.
Yeah. And for the first time, you actually see PETA look back and kind of have a bit of a smile on his face and go, "Oh, this way," and leads his horse, starts going through the tunnel.
Hell. And we were going to go through the blizzard?
And you have the horses follow in, you follow the carriage in.
Yeah, we're just gonna stay here for the rest of the game. Probably
Okay.
not move anymore.
And we quit. We are out.
It's been a great run, you all. Been,
Yeah,
been
that's
fun.
we wrap it up, boys.
Quite literally cliffhanger. Let's just,
Yeah, you son of a bitch.
Yep. You guys go through, and as you go through, suddenly what little light was coming from the moonlight hitting the snow fades as you look back, and the image closes again where it just looks like solid rock with no more than a slight crack behind you guys.
So since we're going through here and my ring is now kind of illuminating a large radius, like I'm just gonna kind of like just look around and just see if there's anything carved into the cave walls.
I'd say this is going to be a perception alertness, difficulty 7.
I'm not trying to overly discern what's there. I'm just looking.
Right. That's why it's not. That's why it's not an investigation roll. It's just you kind of looking around.
Nope, sorry, there's one.
Look around, and sure enough, every so often, first off, again, much like with the star cavern, you see what looks like very, very old claw marks that help. You get the idea, probably help dig out this thing. It looks like time has eroded them to where it's not like sharp raking of the claws. It's smoothed out at this point. So you get the idea that this is probably like hundreds of years ago that this was originally carved out. And every so often you do see those handprints that you saw in the stars. Some of them human-sized, some of them full lupine battle form sized, and you get the idea they're not frequent. It's every like maybe 30 feet or so where you go, oh, okay, I guess that was the last one. Oh wait, no, there's another one up there. And you get the idea that it's kind of a you're on the right path marker kind of deal. And you continue on for a bit, and you notice that it is pleasantly warmer in here. Not necessarily, it's not like warm or temperate or anything, but being shielded from the external elements and things like that, it is a bit more comfortable inside here, and the horses seem to definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, the horses are like shuddering less, I hope.
Yeah, exactly. And you continue, and the path kind of continues on. It seems to be at points where it dips down a little bit, then there are other parts where it starts to incline. Again, this wasn't a small little hill. This is a full plateau mountain, and you're getting the idea that it's going through. And I'd say you guys go for about another hour as this path just slowly continues. There's not a lot interesting to this path other than the occasional handprint that you see. You get the idea that this is not the scenic route. This is the functional, if you needed an escape route, this is a quick go through kind of thing. Let's see. The path continues until it does. You do notice that it starts to narrow up a little bit. Still wide enough for the carriage to get through, but you're getting to that point where there can't be anyone riding to the left or the right of the carriage. It's just the carriage is just wide enough to get through. And the height of this,
one-way traffic. I'm just gonna start signaling at Peter to go
Right.
around me. Go.
and the height of this thing, you're noticing Asmodeus having to kind of like down in the chair because the height of the carriage plus the additional height of the turret that's been put on top of this thing, it's where he is just barely clearing this view.
I
And-
probably limbo a little bit too.
The path continues on and it goes right and then turns to the left, and you see up ahead, guided by the light of Liam's ring, as he's kind of like Green Lanterning this and driving the carriage while leading the way. You notice that the path opens up both in height and in width, and there seems to be a large cavern up ahead.
Can we see like the edges of it, or is it like
Yeah, you can see
so
the
wide
edges
you
of it.
can't see the edges?
You can see the edges as you start to enter, and PETA goes, all right, we're gonna go ahead and I don't assume any of you need to rest or anything, do you?
I believe we're all set for the journey still. We can continue.
And I will say he's looking, you get actually, you know what? I'll say because you have a high enough thing. Wait, give me a perception plus medicine roll.
Ooh, medicine. I thought this guy was all healed up. He has like super soldier serum or whatever.
Well, I mean, he was
better.
getting there.
Said medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Five.
You notice that he's looking a lot better than he was, at least from a medical standpoint. Of it's now been multiple nights, even from when you first met him, and even with the extensive damage that he had received, it seems the anatomy of the lupine is causing it where he is healing up pretty quickly. You're not noticing him wince as much from the ride or anything else. Okay. He pushes forward. Do you guys, I assume you guys follow?
Yes.
Yeah. You get in, and this is a extremely large cavern. And you're getting the idea that
It's cavernous.
it is cavernous.
I'm
Who
getting
has the highest
flashbacks.
who has the highest survival rating?
I have a 4.
That's way.
Actually,
You know what? I'm gonna let Noah make this roll too, just because his experience with like tunnels
Life in a
Cave.
cave.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I'm gonna say, Noah, go ahead and give me a wits plus survival roll.
Interesting, different cave experience.
Yes.
He is
Very.
one with the mole men.
I still don't understand why the Nos live in caves but can't see in the dark.
It's actually one of those things of I don't unless you take a merit, I think it's one of those things of like almost all vampires. It's the weird thing of their nocturnal creatures. But again, that's where it plays into this is a curse, not a blessing kind of thing.
Yeah. Gangrel, I believe, is the only race that gets night vision.
Yeah. Noah?
So standard difficulty?
Yes.
All right, 1.
This part of the cavern seems a lot more nature made rather than man made, and you get the idea that when the snow melts in the spring, that water flows through here, and millions of years of that doing that has carved out this larger section, and that they've just kind of combined the other tunnels to kind of take advantage of what was already here. You guys enter as it is about 30 feet high and huge from side to side of about, let's see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. about 95 or 100 feet from side to side and about 30 feet wide. And there seem to be side passages that are going off to the left and the right, kind of carved in here as you enter this main bit. And you do notice a bit of stalagmites and stalactites on the bottom. And you can even hear the drip, drip, drip as moisture that is probably going from the top of this thing seeping through the earth and eventually just dripping through.
Wait for them.
At this point, go ahead. Everybody can give me a perception alertness roll.
Got a bad feeling going into one more of these.
Oh no, Liam died of dysentery.
Stop dissing Terry.
No, the Chad die let me down.
3 successes, 4 successes, 3
8.
successes, 8 successes. Shit. Okay. What successes?
Chad's about to get someone's credit card number.
But
Give me your social, bitch.
all of
One.
all of you notice
The first one.
all of you notice that in this area there are almost like makeshift carved into the sides of this thing shelving where there's like pottery and looks like bedrolls and things like that, and quite a few actually carved into the different areas and everything else. And you get the idea that if they needed a place to hide or to camp out during a journey or something like that, this is kind of like a safe house kind of way, or at least a midway point where people can bed down and things like that. You see some pottery, some large, some of it woven, some of it clay, baskets and things like that in here. You see long since, not recently used, but several different what was the makings of fire pits that have been carved out in here, so that way to give a little bit of warmth and everything. Wea, with your high roll, you see a lot more of it. It's hard to see because you can only glance as you're first walking through, because since it is so big and wide, it's hard to really make out details on the four walls of this place. But as you're coming through, you kind of glance back and Liam's ring is still glowing enough of the walls as you just pass through into this entrance that you see a lot more of that scratch, the claw writing on here, and what looks like pictures that have been painted on the walls. And some of them are quite obviously lupine, and some of them look like people, and you see them standing and looking inward. Again, they're not super deep. We're not talking like complete frescoes here, but it's very much a native drawing that you see. Again, different in style to your people's art, as it is a different, these are historically more Comanche rather than Cherokee, but you're seeing at least something of a similarity of this. With 8 successes, I'll let you make another roll.
Ooh, the double roll.
So go ahead and make an int plus occult.
Oh, we're fucked, boys. There's no way that's happening.
Last time we did one of these, Walter was the only one that succeeded.
Chad dice and Vox Machina dice. Let's go. Nope, I don't know shit.
It's one of those things of the different nations.
It's pretty.
The different nations of people, they're not all the same people, so cultural differences are still a thing, and so you're not particularly familiar on the cultural significance of the Comanche and their belief systems or anything else. So
nope.
You do notice Peter get off of his horse at this point.
Are we
And
stopping?
he doesn't even answer, but he sits there and
Just a little rude.
Gets down on his knees and starts speaking in a language that none of you speak, since you don't speak their language. And he seems to be just, there's something rhythmic to it, but he's saying something, and he seems to be having a moment of respect. And as he equally before this was looking around, and if you guys had any doubts before, you get the idea that he has never been this way himself, that he probably went the way with most of his people, going up and over if this was the path that they needed to take. And he is there for several minutes saying what he's saying, as he's some kind of reverence is being shown here.
We gave the necklace to him, right? Did we ever give back Morokuro's necklace to him?
You did. You
Okay.
did give that.
He's wearing it, right?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
He is currently wearing it across his chest.
Okay, that's all.
While he's doing this, what do you guys
This
what do you
is a
guys
special
think?
place.
I'll
should
kind of just walk to
be
the
nice to it.
carriage and be like, "Hey, if you guys want to stretch your legs, now's the time." I guess you don't need to do that since you're a vampire, but
At this point, Bartleby goes, Cass speaks up, Master, if it's all right for you, I wouldn't mind stretching my legs for a bit.
Fine.
And he and Henry get out, and each are kind of just like, oh.
and I'll call Sonoy out and I'll tell him, wander around this cavern, see what you can find.
Okay.
See if anything gets picked up.
Sonoy nods and kind of hats off for a bit, and
Sonoy has a hairball.
yes. After about 10 minutes or so, Peter gets up and kind of brushes the dirt off of his legs, and he goes, I've heard about this place, but I've never been here myself.
We figured from how you led us that this was a first time experience for you.
Only in moments of great need or great import is this path usually taken. Well, shall we?
Yeah, lead the way. Lead on.
Okay. I need everybody to make a perception plus awareness roll for me, please. And I will say, Liam, you are noticing that at this point, everyone gets out of the, or I would say the humans get out of the carriage, and those, if those inside decide to stay in, the path becomes a lot bumpier, because as this is the inside of a cavern and it's not a perfectly smooth thing, there's a lot of bouncing, and you kind of get the idea that maybe it would be better to get out and walk at this point, at least until you get through here.
H just got one success in my roll.
Okay.
I got 3.
Okay. Walter, how'd you do?
I missed this roll. I'm sorry.
Perception awareness.
Oh, shoot. I in my head, I did it and then decided that my roll was complete.
I'm not bouncing. I'm just exercising certain muscles.
Oh my God.
Liam, what'd you roll? 2. Okay.
So many ones. I botched once.
Walter, you're fine. As a matter of fact, you don't pick up on this at all. You're just kind of staring around going, nice cave.
Looks like
I'm
it's made
thinking
out of tape.
about I'm thinking about that cavern we got trapped in and looking for black sludge.
Ah, good.
No black sludge. You're convinced of that, and that just immediately makes your guard go down. If there's no black sludge, there's nothing else that could go wrong. Where you all start to hear this, it almost sounds like wind going through this tunnel at a point, which is weird though, because you weren't hearing it before. And then Where you pick up on this first as there are voices on the wind and a chanting happening. And it seems far away at first. And as you guys start to pass through the center of this cavern, it gets louder. Again, not at any point is it like the shrieking and wailing of the murder vase that you guys dealt with the night before, but you just start hearing that chanting, and you hear drums and
Jumanji!
but go ahead. I'm gonna let you roll one more time.
Oh damn.
This is going to be a
Even Walter?
yeah, Walter, I'll let those who are native, those who have been in this area a bit, I'll let Walter and Wea make this roll of perception. No, an int plus cultural thing. So
Whatever it is, I'm only gonna have 2 dice anyway.
I'm not oof. This is a hard one. I'm gonna say
How hard is it?
let's go with occult again. Just
All bad.
Oh, alright.
I will say, Wea, for you, this is only going to be difficulty 5.
No, I still nothing, 0.
Okay.
It's bad for me, man.
I don't have a cult. I rolled a single 7.
Okay. Walter, you're very vaguely familiar with a lot of the native peoples out here, and having been stationed out here and things like that during your mortal days. You hear the voices now, because Wea picks up on this first, and as you guys you start to hear this, and it sounds like the chanting and the dancing, and you hear almost like a ceremony being performed, and it sounds like it's coming, like it's far away, but it's coming closer, and you almost hear like it coming from the walls kind of thing. And you guys look down just as Sonoy comes up, and you asked him to look around for what he found, and he comes back and he has a bone in his mouth.
Oh,
and
no.
Suddenly there's the light from Liam's ring, and you look down, and in the ground you see the lupine paw prints in the ground start to glow red. And
y'all saw that episode of the Brady Bunch where they go to Hawaii and they take the tiki?
and you hear you see the paw prints start to light up this cavern. And suddenly you're looking at, now you guys can see it on the far walls, these images of these drawn figures of either lupines in their battle form, in their wolf form, in their humanoid, and the eyes all start glowing red. And PETA starts looking around and goes, no, I thought this was just a story. Why is this?
Spurs, we're gonna need you outside.
And suddenly, from the images of the cavern, this mist pushes forward, and you see these spectral forms of humans and what looks like lupines in this spectral form, and they're all just looking at you guys with murder in their eyes, and you hear the drumming and the chanting and everything else, and the singing and the calls to it, as suddenly the spectral mist shoots down and hits the ground as it pours into the ground, and you guys start feeling the ground shake as rocks begin to.
I think it's time to go.
So, where the hell did you get that bone? Maybe you should put it back.
and the ground starts to break open. You realize that it's hard to move fast in this place with the carriage because of the rocky terrain and the stalagmites and the stalactites. Go ahead, Liam. If you're still on the carriage. Asmodeus is still on the turret. Is anyone else? Did anyone else get off, or is everyone else who was inside still inside?
I'll say Atris came out.
Okay, Atris came out. Noah, did you stay in and go out? You're muted, my friend.
I would come out.
Okay. Walter, are you still on the ceiling, or did you get off? Oh, I mean, not the ceiling, the roof.
Yeah. I don't think Walter had a reason to dismount.
Okay. So I'll say that Walter and Liam are still on it with Asmodeus. Everyone else, or Wea, did you get off or did you stay on?
Well, I mean, I would have got off to. I mean, no, I wouldn't have needed to do that to tell Sonoy. So no, I probably would have stayed on.
Okay. As suddenly coming from the ground, you see a skeletal hand come up, and another, and it gets to the point where in front, in your path, 4 humanoid skeletons start pulling themselves from the ground, and as you look out, suddenly there's and you see a clawed skeletal hand and 3 large, and you see it is this anatomy that can only be the skeletal forms of lupines in their battle form, coming out slightly held together by this mist that seems to be drifting across and inside the bodies, eyes glowing red, and you just hear PETA say, "The grandfathers have come back." And that is where we're going to end it for tonight.
That's so good.
No.
Yes, the grandfathers, dude. I'm fucking hyped for this. Damn.
We're gonna have to beat up the elderly.
Or murder
Would it-
base.
Wouldn't be the
Murder
first,
vase?
wouldn't be the first
Murder
time, wouldn't be
vase.
the last time that you guys, attacked the elderly. So
Rip Old Man Williams.
I am older than anyone we've killed.
right, so if anyone attacks you, it's really they're the asshole.
Yeah. You whippersnapper.
How long have you been 19? A long time.
Oh my god.
All right, everybody. So we will pick that up. We will not be playing next week because we will be busy stuffing our faces for Thanksgiving.
Ever will we?
But we will come back the week after. So for everyone at home, we'll pick this up next time and see how the Spurs do in the burial ground that they just stumbled into.
Damn, it's a burial ground.
I mean,
It's a Native American burial ground, no big deal. No bad stories come from these.
Yeah, right. I've never read a ghost story about a cemetery.
And we will see how they do on the shoulders of the grandfathers. So thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like, subscribe, comment below, ask us questions, make comments, tell us how much you love us. And beyond that, until the next time we see you, keep your fangs and your wit sharp. Have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you next time on Tumbleweeds and Tombstones.